Hi guys, Theo here, and sorry folks, but no intro bit today. I've got a strange, not so strange urge to get this video out at a reasonable date. With Secret of the Mimic coming out so soon, I believe it's important to theorize about what we might be seeing in-game. Currently, we have roughly 4 main sources to help us figure out what might happen. We have the trailer, the Steam page, FNAF Help 1 and 2's update, and the story The Mimic. Albeit, we aren't certain how much will actually be used from the story The Mimic, because of 2 main things. A, the game appears to take place after the events of The Mimic, and B, Edwin's factory seems to be quite different from the story. To be fair, we aren't sure if this is because of different canons, or Steelwool deciding to change up the factory for the story for a better gameplay experience. That being said, I already did a reaction to the trailer, so I suggest watching that video after this to hear my in-the-moment thoughts. But I'll give you all the cliff notes. A deer, creepy dog, helper, funny mushroom guy, ugly elephant, dead people, large tiger rock, tactical mouse, the outside, and Music Man! Then there's the Steam page. While the half of these images are areas we've already seen, the other half are brand new areas. There's the costume construction of Elephant, which is actually really accurate to how a costume like that would be made. Guidelines to show where certain parts connect and whatnot. A main hallway, which appears to be a different view of an area in the trailer, specifically the one with the reindeer. And finally, the Swampy Show stage with what appears to be an earlier version of Mr. Hippo, Happy Frog, and Monty Gator. Then there's the Help 1 and 2 update with the Masks shop, M.X.E.S in a van, and Edwin's factory behind the said mask shop in the puzzle. And last but not least, the story The Mimic, as well as the epilogues, but I don't really feel like reiterating what's been said so much already. So I'll just simplify it to make a quick but lovely poem. His name was Edwin. He made the mimic. It was difficult to put the pieces back together. That being said, I would like to mention a few important things. We, in-game, are the 3rd attempt at retrieving the mimic. The previous 2 were taken out before, actually getting the mimic itself. Second, the mimic, at least in the books, is just a project by Edwin, not something for Fazbear. And Tiger Rock should just be a plushie at this point in the timeline, not whatever the hell this thing is. So, side little note here. It's hard to talk about the books with there being such little visual stuff I can actually use. I can only go so far with creating things to represent in-book things. Now for the actual theorying part of the video. This game seems to outline the beginning of multiple beloved and well-known characters. Helpy, Monty, Mr. Hippo, Happy Frog, maybe Mangle, and, of course, Music Man. So I don't think it's crazy to think we'll be seeing earlier versions of other obscure characters like Ned Bear, Orville, and probably Trash and the gang. I also think this game will be heavily filled with duplicate suits. We see the elephant multiple times in the trailer, and yet we also see an active work-in-progress version of said suit on the Steam page. Which also leads me to my next prediction. Each suit will appear multiple times. For example, we might see the mushroom guy early into the game, and then later see it used again near the end. Now we're heading into heavier territory. So make sure to fasten your seatbelts, put on your hard hats, and hit that like and subscribe button, because from here on out, the predictions will get a little bumpy. As we saw from the Help 1 and 2 update, M.X.E.S was put into a van and shipped off. That van seems to be the same van that was in the trailer. While we already knew that M.X.E.S was an older machine thanks to FNAF's, the person, not the franchise, interview with J-Top from Steelwool.
I've noticed, and I feel like people in the community have noticed, that it looks a lot like the
Whopper.
The Whopper machine from the 1983 movie War Games.
Yeah. That is deliberately supposed to be an older machine.
But what we didn't know is why it was so old. With what we know now, it's likely going to be what's used to shut off and capture the Mimic, with it being the same machine that kept the Mimic locked up in ruin. That being said, you have to wonder, who made M.X.E.S? And also, who is the player character? Well, I believe it's likely Henry. I know this is a very popular theory right now, but it's with good reason. Henry is the tech whiz out of him and William, and as it would stand in the timeline, Fazbear would be in a good place with having both of them alive and in ownership position. Henry, being a tech whiz, would also explain how we know how to use the tech in Edwin's factory. I know gameplay mechanics don't always need an explanation, but it's nice when it fits well. Now, I usually leaned on the side of the books being non-canon, willing to accept them as canon if enough evidence was shown, and from what it seems in the trailer, it's kind of odd. A game about Edwin's factory and all that should be a no-brainer. But with what it seems to differ, I wonder if Steel Wool is doing this on purpose. There's a lot changed from the books. I finally found the time to read The Mimic, and I can say with confidence that this is quite different from the books. In the book, the Mimic, the factory is old and shut down. It was a big old factory used for making lace, or fabrics, if that makes sense. This is a tad different from what the trailer has shown us. Or actually, it isn't different? So here's something odd. Certain parts of the trailer make the factory seem vibrant and full of life, while others make it out to be old, abandoned factory from the books. It's quite odd, to be frank. And this part doesn't even seem like it's part of the factory. Edwin didn't like working for Fazbear. Why would he keep so many posters from Fazbear's golden days? Literally golden days. So with all this being said, I think I'm on the side of the books being less and less canon. While I do think the books are still the baseline, like for knowledge and stuff, I don't think it's going to be one-to-one. And I think using that idea that this isn't going to be the books, this is going to be something else. Furthermore, Jackie, what's up with her? She hasn't shown up in any of the books. Which, duh, you want a new villain that's new, brand new, not from something else you might know. That's a big reason why Help Wanted had Glitch Trap, a brand new, while still something we had before, a Spring Bonnie, different, but in digital now. But, if it's just to make a better game, then it stands that they might be adapting the books in such a way where their contents are still canon, while not necessarily making the books themselves canon. Well, all of this comes from me not wanting Frights to be canon because of my grudge against Fazgoo, but also because of Return to the Bit being contradictory to both the Into the Bit story and the game. Because we have the whole tangled mess of Tales being both connected to the games and Frights, but the games are connected to the Choose Your Own Adventure books, which contradict Frights. See what I'm getting at? See what I mean? It's a mess. The factory change could be explained, however, by my most insane prediction. The entire game, all of what we play through, all of the costumes, the machines, even the Mimic itself, are all just a digital recreation of the original factory. I believe there's a good chance that this whole game is shown to us by the Mimic. Who are we then, you ask? Well, we could be Gregory, we could be Vanessa, but I think it's most likely Cassie. What I think is happening is the Mimic is showing us, through the chip implanted in our heads, how it was made. I do have good reason to back up this theory though, and it's the Tiger Rock plush. In the books, the Tiger Rock plush is a plush for Edwin's son, David. Nothing special, just a plush. But in the trailers, it looks to be a suit. Not only that, the 3 appearances we have of it are rather odd. One is him half limp in a dark room with a single overhead light. The second is his eyes glowing with no other part of him visible. And lastly is a single frame at the end of the trailer of what seems to be him laying down, lifeless, lightless, and with a body next to him. Now, I think it's a simulation of sorts because there's no other good reason for Tiger Rock to be up and around like this. It could just be a suit by now, but that would go heavily against the books, which would make it less canon. And no one wants a canonicity debate right now, right? No, whatever. All that matters right now is that thing should not be walking around as it does, but it would be able to walk around if it was all digital. The White Tiger/Tiger Rock is the main avatar of the Mimic program in the books. Whether it's Mimic 1 or Mimic 2, I have no clue. You wanna know why I have no clue? Because I'm still making my way through the darn books. I was reading the first book, and then I put it on hold to start the Mimic story, and I haven't had a whole lot of time because of work, blah blah blah, you get the idea. Anyways, another supporting factor for this theory is Helper. The whole early Fazwrench and Helpy idea is kind of odd considering how high-tech it is. Don't mind the fact we are in probably the most highly advanced factory of the time, plus a Mimic AI that, highly advanced AI. And if we are playing as Cassie experiencing what happened back then it's likely just the same Fazwrench she's had being turned old school by the simulation. That being said, this is the story about highly advanced AI, so take it with a grain of salt, will ya? I would also like to add something from the book. Even though I myself haven't made it to those parts, but there are stories about simulations that feel all too real. One is about a girl in a water park who drowns from a ghost in a headset, or maybe it wasn't a ghost, I'm not really sure. The other is a boy who thinks he escaped the headset, but then Monty jumps through his window when he's about to go to sleep. Now, call me crazy if you want, but Secret of the Mimic, being a recreation of the past by the Mimic, doesn't sound too far off. At least in comparison to the books it's likely based off of. And especially with recent games making you question reality more and more, this type of plot twist fits quite well. Similar to FNAF 1 through Sister Location being in-universe games, while also being actual events that happened. I think the plot twist of Secret of the Mimic will be that it's all a recreation by the Mimic to show Cassie its secret. That raises another question. What is the secret of the Mimic? Is it that the Mimic was never Fazbear tech? Or maybe it's actually haunted? Or who knows, maybe it's not evil at all, and it actually witnessed the MCI like a good chunk of Twitter claims as if it was stated in any actual FNAF media. Sorry, I'm getting spiteful. What if the secret of the Mimic is meant to be how it works? Or perhaps, maybe the Mimic is the secret. Maybe the name is intended to be used as a story. Like one you might tell a new hire at a job. Something significant that happened that only people on the inside would know. It's a story. It's a secret story, but a story nonetheless. But hey, that's just my theory. Tell me what you think down in the comments below. It's always fun reading your guys' comments. And as always, my name is Theory. Bye bye.